So, there we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Politics, Culture, and Some Other Shit, the podcast. Sorry about my absence recently. I've a few different reasons, all legitimate. My software shit itself. I did put an update up on the Patreon, so if you want to follow me over there, it's free. Or you can pay £1 a month. Helps pay the bills here at Super 8 Equatronic. But yeah, the software shit itself, it updated itself, and all the settings didn't carry over, and I just didn't have time to fucking get everything all set up again. And then I had to go and dig into it, and I had to find a half a day somewhere to go and do it. Disaster. But I finally got that sorted, and then I had to go away to play in Germany with the Bonnevilles, which we'll talk about more later on, because we released a new song, and it's to do with it's to do with AI and all that sort of stuff. And you know that's one of the banes of my life. So anyway, what are we going to talk about? So we're going to talk about AI in music and all that sort of stuff. We're going to talk about the World Cup a little bit. We're going to talk about, I have a few little small segments I'm going to blast you with. But the main thing I'm going to talk about for now anyway, we're going to talk about the lock. The UK government has decided that Northern Ireland has been declared a sacrifice zone, environmental sacrifice zone. So I'm not very happy about that, and I don't think you should be either. What else? And then so that's going to be one of the main segments, and we're going to talk about a cat called Lindsey Graham, an American senator who died. Unfortunately, he was a particularly vile individual, and so we'll get to him first. So we'll do that now. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so Lindsey Graham. Who was Lindsey Graham? I'm going to read this article, and it should explain all, from Al Jazeera. Not going to read it all because it's quite lengthy, but you'll get the point. They do the both sides thing. I'm not going to do the both sides thing, but they'll do it. But so we'll get through it. Got a little video to play to you, and a few examples of actual things the man said. Okay, in his own words, not taken out of context. Actually, him saying them, which will illustrate exactly how vile this individual is. So, let me just set this up, sorry. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. So there. Lindsey Graham's legacy: Israel advocate, Trump ally, Iran war supporter. The late US senator backed an invasion of the Iraq war, the war in Iran, and the approach of more for Israel as he became a Trump confidant. That will all become apparent as we read. So, when the devastating Hurricane Helene hit the southern shores of the United States, I've just realised you can't actually see this. So, let me just reshape this window for you so that you can watch it. By the way, if you're listening to this, which I know most of you are, if you go on to the Patreon, YouTube, and all that stuff, there we go. That's a bit better. You can watch the video as well of me messing around with technology that is well above my understanding or pay grade. So, Washington DC. When the devastating Hurricane Helene hit the southeastern shores of the United States in 2024, the late Senator Lindsey Graham appeared on Fox News to discuss the aftermath of the natural disaster in South Carolina, which was his constituency, by the way. For 5 minutes, he expressed anger and frustration as what he presented as failures by the administration of the then Democratic President Joe Biden in responding to the hurricane. Then, unprompted, he abruptly shifted the conversation from the woes of his home state to his concern about Israel amid its genocidal war on Gaza. And bear in mind, he's been brought on the TV to talk about this hurricane that has ripped through his constituency. I've been going all over South Carolina like most people. I haven't slept much, but look at what's going on in Israel. Graham said, our friends in Israel, and that's another thing, he always said Israel, like, and he said Israel. Never, maybe he is saying it right, I don't know, but it's weird, right? Our friends in Israel, surrounded by people that want to kill them, destroy them. A second Holocaust in the making. And Biden says be proportional. What is the proportional response to people who want to kill you and your family? They're running out of ammunition in Israel and we have to help our friends. The Republican senator who died of a brief and sudden illness late on Saturday, according to his office, seemed to always find a way to stay focused on his hawkish foreign policy advocacy and devotion for Israel. Throughout his decades-long career, Graham backed the 2003 invasion of Iraq, staunchly opposed Russia and China, and called for unflinching and unlimited support for Israel, and was one of the most vocal cheerleaders of the war in Iran. There was no war this man was not a vocal cheerleader of. This is his legacy. And as the article said, he died suddenly the other night, unexpected, after a short illness. The wags online are speculating as to what that sudden illness may have been, because he was everybody knew he was a closeted gay man, and he was also, the rumour mill was he was also a very let me put it in ways that I don't want to. He would, his sexual proclivities were maybe not. You certainly wouldn't share them with your maiden aunt over breakfast on a Sunday morning. I'm gonna put it that way. Anyway, by the way, that's not me putting yuck on somebody else's yum. I don't care about that. Do whatever you like, as long as everybody's willing and legal and capable of saying no. If that's all done, then whatever, go at it. Anyway, back to the article. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Some other people will bring that up in a second. I'm going to play some video. So, he cultivated over many, many years a reputation for hawkishness and pushing for military solutions to US foreign policy problems, Hannah said. He was so we've already done that. After decades of fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, many US politicians, including Trump, who promised to be a peace president, avoided appearing pro-war. Not Graham. He remained uncompromising in favouring military interventions, particularly in the Middle East. Earlier this year, when Graham called on US forces to participate alongside Israel in bombing Lebanon, Republican Congressman Tim Burchett took a jab at the senator's zeal for military strikes. Lindsey Graham hasn't seen a fistfight in his life, and he wants to turn, and hasn't seen a fistfight. He hasn't wanted to turn into a bombing raid, Burchett told reporters. His pro-Israel views. Unconditional support for Israel has been a central tenet for most US foreign policy hawks in the post-9/11 era, and Graham was no exception, and by God was he not. This man was so rabidly pro-Israel, it was fetishistic. And, you know, I'm going to, again, we're going to tie all this stuff up as is my way. Got a little video to play you about the sexual normalities of, seems to be the Israeli, part of the Israeli psychopathy. Just sad way of putting it. We'll talk about that later on. The late Republican often made a show in calling for more military aid to the US ally. After a 2021 Israeli assault on Gaza that killed hundreds of Palestinians, Graham headed to Israel and posed next to Benjamin Netanyahu with a sign that said "More for Israel." He then secured an additional $1 billion in US military aid for the country. Now, one of the things that you have to remember is, I don't know if you remember the video, but it happened a while back, and Benjamin Netanyahu went on the American public were getting fed up. It was, the opinion polls and stuff were sort of indicating that the American public were getting fed up with the amount of money that Israel was being given by the United States, and obviously as the genocide in Palestine wore on, what they were doing with that money came more and more to light, and we all of us, to be fair, not just the American public, all of us became more aware of what exactly it was Israel was doing to the Palestinians. A lot of us knew a lot of what was going on, but very few of us knew all that was going on. And that's the difference between this genocide, what's happening, and previous such atrocities. The difference is this one was live streamed and we all got to see it, so there was no denying it, despite the fact that they're still trying to deny it in many circles. And even I know the other day, the current favourite to be the next UK Prime Minister, after being elected by fucking nobody, by the way, Andy Burnham, still could barely bring himself to say, there's a genocide. He said, it certainly appears there may have been war crimes committed, or there may be a genocide. This mealy mouth fucking nonsense. Well, if you want to know who you're not allowed, who rules you, look at who you're not allowed to criticise. Complete Zionist capture of the entire West, it seems to me. And people like Lindsey Graham play a large part in that. They're the tip of the spear. This man famously, I only found this out later on this year, he, not admitted, seemed to brag. He would be in Israel every 2 weeks. He would visit Israel every 2 weeks. He might have been a senator from South Carolina, but he certainly didn't represent South Carolina. He represented Israel in the American Senate. That was clear, as do so many others. But he is, without doubt, the most fire-breathing, maniacal supporter of the Israeli project. Anyway, on Sunday, Netanyahu eulogised Graham, saying that the Republican legislator often sought more US support for Israel than his government requested or needed. Netanyahu told Fox News that Graham went ballistic when the Israeli Prime Minister told him that he would push to phase out US military assistance to Israel. He was so concerned with our security, which he believed was your security, that he actually fought the Prime Minister of Israel on keeping America's aid or actually increasing it, Netanyahu said. Several Israeli officials, including the far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, a psychopath, by the way, lauded Graham after his death. And by the way, just on the military thing, I'll find something and we'll probably touch upon it. Just last night, the American Senate, or the Congress, one of the two, I can't remember which, voted, a bill is going through the American legislation at the American legislator at the minute, and it is proposed to merge the American military with the Israeli military. They're going to become one and the same. Now, a few months ago, Benjamin Netanyahu went on TV. He made at a press conference. He mentioned that he envisages the Israeli military not receiving any military aid, Israel not receiving any military aid from the United States or anybody else within 10 years. Now, I laughed at that. It was quite clear the direction of travel of public opinion, as I mentioned a minute ago. People were starting to be wise up and become aware, alert as to what exactly Israel was doing and what they were doing with Western taxpayers' money. So it was a little attempt, albeit half-assed in my opinion, to head that off with the suggestion that this isn't going to continue forever, suggesting that Israel will become self-sufficient, which it is not, and it will not, it cannot. And I do wonder, did he have this in mind? Was this already in place? Probably was, that he knew that a bill was going to be passing through Congress suggesting that they would merge the American and the Israeli military. Now, this is real. This is actually a thing that is happening right now. And it is absolutely fucking terrifying. Meaning, suggesting, the people that are critics of it are saying, you know, the thought that Israel and another foreign country, any other foreign country, would have access or control of the American military, which completely does away with your own so-called independence. Any independence you have. I mean, if someone else is controlling your military, another argument against NATO, by the way, how can you profess to be anyway independent? So I do wonder, did Netanyahu know back then when he made that proclamation, or is this a relatively new development, and that proclamation that he made was just another lie, just to ward off criticism? I don't know. But anyway, it's interesting, but terrifying, regardless. So here's Graham. I'm going to finish reading from this now. At times, Graham's pro-Israel advocacy turned into outright resentment and dehumanization of Palestinians. On several occasions, he compared Palestinian people to Nazis and suggested that dropping a nuclear bomb on them would be justified. Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? It fucking wasn't. To end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay, he told NBC News in 2024. So, Israel, do whatever you have to survive do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state, which is an ethno-supremacist state. Me being from the occupied O'Shea, I know what it's like to live in an ethno-supremacist state. I tend to be against that sort of thing, and you should be too. Right, so now this, we're going to play a little video here. I need to resize this again because I changed it for the other thing, so let me bear with me. So now, this is a really interesting little piece. This is an article written by Caitlin Johnson. Actually, do you know what? I'll play some other stuff first. So we'll head over to Twitter, and I want to read you this. So if you can see this, and this is, so whenever a politician dies, regardless of their leaning, their ideologies, normally what happens is across the board, people will come out and don't speak ill of the dead. Basically, they put it in another way. They put it in a common enough way. This hasn't happened with Lindsey Graham, and the reason it hasn't happened is because of how vile the man actually was. He was the monster of monsters. This man had absolutely no redeeming features, from his public declarations to his private. And you know, the fact that in his private life he was a closeted gay man that everybody knew. I'll show you a little video on that. I actually played it before one time, but it wasn't that he was a closeted gay man. It was that he was a particularly vile closeted gay man. And the suggestion is that his frustrations with his sexual life, desires, proclivities, that the frustration of that, the suggestion is that the frustration of that sort of led through into his public life. And because he couldn't just be who he wanted to be, that created a lifetime of frustration and created an ugly soul, which unfortunately held quite a powerful position in American and global public life, as it turns out. But anyway, so here's Piers Morgan, and this is the thing. He says, seeing the despicably cruel, heartless and abusive way that many people in the UK and the US have responded to the deaths of Conservative politicians Anne Widdecombe and Lindsey Graham. Now, Just on that, Anne Widdecombe was murdered the other day, and that investigation is ongoing. He's talking about the people on the left. I'm seeing the people on the right desperately, as in the Telegraph and the Daily Mail and other right-wing media, trying to pin the blame of that on the left, the general left, despite the fact that the police are in the middle of an ongoing investigation. So when the police are asked, are you investigating possible left-wing connections to the murder of Anne Widdecombe? They say yes, because they are. They're investigating all connections. They're not ruling anything out. That's what they mean by that. But they don't. In the media, they don't tell you that. They'll tell you the police are investigating possible left-wing connections, which technically is not untrue, but also could be technically not even fucking close to the final mark. Do you get me? So the Anne Widdecombe thing, I'm going to say nothing about, because that's beyond that. That's ongoing. So anyway, back to the thing. Responded to the deaths of Conservative politicians Anne Widdecombe and Lindsey Graham reminds me that the least kind people on earth are ironically those on the hashtag Be Kind Woke Left. What a load of... This is one of the reasons I fucking can't stand Piers Morgan. He's such a wanker. He's just a wanker. He's just a fucking wanker. Nick Cruz replies, if you want people to honour your death and live an honourable life, why is it so hard for you goofy motherfuckers to understand? It's just true. Now, there may be, I'm sure there are, people out there saying mean, cruel things about Anne Widdecombe. I'm not going to be one of those. I think I probably disagree with Anne Widdecombe on 99.9% of the things that she advocated for and believed in. But... and I know she did say some pretty fucking mean and horrible stuff. I am aware of that. But not to the level of Lindsey Graham. And if we're going to do a top trumps of nasty motherfuckers, Lindsey Graham is the fucking Dracula card. End of. Anne Widdecombe doesn't even come close. She's not even in the pack. Caitlin Johnson, in the months leading up to his death, Graham had advocated for the direct US military intervention, now dig this, in Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, Yemen, Nigeria, Lebanon and Palestine. He had just returned from a trip promoting the US proxy war against Russia. He was pushing war until the very end. And one of the last photographs taken of him was him stroking weirdly phallic looking missiles in Ukraine. Legger, this is Eddie Legger Smith. Would you mourn if a school shooter died? Lindsey Graham promoted and cheered on the bombing of an elementary school that killed over 160 students and staff. That was the Manab school in Iran in the early days of the assault on Iran, the war of choice on Iran. Revolutionary Blackout Network. This prostitute spreads false consciousness, gaslighting us to adopt ideologies and values of the ruling class. Excuse me. Ooh, I've come back from Germany with a little cold, by the way. Universalized mourning forces the proletariat to validate the very systems that oppress them. But dying is the best thing that Lindsey Graham ever did for the working class. And this is the thing that Piers Morgan is. He is the gaslighter supreme. We have to be polite now the man's dead and say nice things about him that he's dead. Why? Why? He never said anything nice about any human being that wasn't advocating for fucking genocide in his entire life. And he was unapologetic. The man had no redeeming features. None whatsoever. But we're supposed to sit here and talk about him as though he did. Because he's dead now. Never speak ill of the dead. I'm not going to speak ill of the dead. I'm just going to fucking point out things that he said when he was alive. Now, this brings me to this video. And this is the great Caitlin Johnson. And she has here, I think it's her husband's called Tim, I believe. And she read an article and he reads it out. So check this out. You'll like this. And it pretty much sums up, I think, the way that most of us are feeling about this.
Well, at least Lindsey Graham is dead. The only positive thing about the Iran war heating up again is that Lindsey Graham won't be around to enjoy it. The bloodthirsty South Carolina senator breathed his last on Saturday, succumbing to what his office describes as a brief and sudden illness after a political career dedicated to promoting wars, airstrikes, and proxy conflicts at every possible opportunity. People have long poked fun at the hypocrisy of Lindsey Graham living as an obvious closeted gay man in a political party with a virulently anti-LGBTQ platform. I personally have always found Graham's sexual attraction to men a lot less interesting than his sexual attraction to acts of mass military slaughter. Ever since the death of Graham's dear friend John McCain, nobody on Capitol Hill has been able to match his gleeful enthusiasm for the shredding of human bodies using high-priced war machinery. Wherever there was any debate about dropping bombs, launching missiles, toppling foreign governments, arming proxy forces, or imposing starvation sanctions, you could always count on Lindsey Graham to be the first and loudest voice arguing in favor of more death and destruction. Graham has personally taken credit for persuading President Trump to begin the war with Iran. In the months leading up to his unexpected demise, the senator had advocated for direct U.S. military interventionism in Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, Yemen, Nigeria, Lebanon, and Palestine, and had just returned from a trip to Kyiv promoting the U.S. proxy war against Russia. He was literally pushing for more war and military expansionism until the very end of his life. All the world's worst people are publicly expressing their grief about the loss of their beloved war slut, from Trump to Benjamin Netanyahu to Itamar Ben-Gvir to Tom Cotton to Mike Huckabee. Meanwhile, everyone who's not a warmongering psychopath is having a splendid day. Of course, we're seeing imperial narrative managers like Piers Morgan wagging their fingers and chiding their audiences not to speak ill of the dead, but the hell with them. We're not doing that. Politeness is not more important than Lindsey Graham's victims. The liberal desire for propriety and nice feelings does not outweigh the importance of naming and shaming Graham's frenetic scramble to murder as many human beings as he possibly could throughout his evil, miserable life. Lindsey Graham is dead, and it is good that he is dead. May his omnicidal ideology soon join him in the arms of the cold, cold ground. May the insane, insatiable God he worshipped cease to gain recognition on this planet. Lindsey Graham is dead. At least that's one good thing. No matter what else happens today, they can't take that away from us.
Boom. There we go. Lindsey Graham is dead. At least they can't take that away from us. And I am going to leave the final words of this article to the man himself. Lindsey motherfucking dead as fuck Graham. So check this out. A few little snippets. Remember I told you earlier on in the article, I'm going to play the video. Check it out now. The man is a monster, like.
He recognized Jerusalem as capital of Israel. Why?
Israel.
Because if you got a problem with that, take it up with God. He's the guy that did it, not Trump. So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
Who the fuck says that?
Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II.
At least he's saying it out loud. You know, a lot of the same motherfuckers believe it. At least he just says it.
So, as a coalition of Republicans, some Baptist, some Jewish, we organize ourselves around principles that we love and we cherish. We love individual freedom. We love entrepreneurship. We love capitalism. we love Israel. We love the idea of Israel. We love the struggle they've been involved in. We love them, helping them because you're helping yourself. So to those who worry about these stupid interviews and far off places, don't worry. The Republican Party has figured it out when it comes to Israel. We understand that Israel is a friend of America to the bitter end. We understand that God blesses those who bless Israel. And where I come from, I figured that crap out when I was 6 years old. God bless you. Thank you.
Monstrous, right? More. So here's him saying we must nuke Gaza.
What did we do in World War II? Did we think 1 minute about starving the Germans? Did we bomb every city into smithereens? This is a threat to Israel's
And then
survival.
they flattened Gaza.
Just flatten it. We flattened Berlin. We flattened Tokyo. Were we wrong to drop an atomic bomb to end the Japanese reign of terror? Were we? So my view, if I were Israel, I would have probably done it the same way.
End the war by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war. I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
What did we do?
So there it is from his own words, or from his own lips. This is the one about Ukraine. Check this out. As long as we will continue giving them weapons, they'll fight to the last Ukrainian.
I like the structural path we're on here. As long as we help Ukraine with the weapons they need and the economic support, they will fight to the last person. I like the structural...
They will fight to the last person. And by fucking God, are they making that come true? And also, Americans never fucking talk to me or anybody else again.
Someone to serve in the place of this irresistible man.
Never talk to me again about democracy, about fucking going around the world pumping. Not that I believe we live in a democracy. I know we don't, but a lot of you dumpy motherfuckers do. Same in the UK. I live in Northern Ireland, the Occupado O'Shea. I've never had a meaningful vote in my life. One vote in my life I've ever had, and I've voted every election that I've been entitled to do. The 1998 Good Friday Agreement was the only election I ever voted in that actually resulted in something that I wanted. So his seat is being passed on to his niece, like a royal line of succession.
This irreplaceable man, this extraordinary man. It's my honor to ask his little sister, Darlene Graham, to finish his work for him now.
Oh, his sister.
It is such a privilege to get to finish some of his important work, and I promise to work hard over the next several months.
Well, another fucking monster, probably. How the you just pass the seat on? This is so they don't have an election. There's a midterm election in November, and they're trying to avoid that. Well, I think they won't have it anyway, or avoid them losing it. So here is Lindsey Graham. I have to finish on this because this is funny. This is him being heckled going to work.
Hey, Lindsey, why don't you just admit that you're gay and then people won't blackmail you anymore?
One more?
Hey, Lindsey, why don't you just admit that you're gay and then people won't blackmail you anymore?
Yeah. So there we go. Lindsey Graham, dead as fuck, and you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead, but that man was a fucking monster. What are you supposed to do? Fuck him. Okay, so on from the departure of the monstrous human being that was Lindsey Graham, we're going to go to, and these are two different segments, but they are connected because there's a reason that people like Lindsey Graham are attracted to places like Israel and places like what's going on in Ukraine. Now, as you know, if you follow this podcast, you know my feelings about the whole Ukrainian situation. It was completely unnecessary, didn't need to happen. It was always going to result in the destruction of Ukraine. You can't go and fight someone 10 times your size. Especially if the allies that you're relying on is the Western countries like the United States, United Kingdom, etc. These people are not to be trusted. If you're going into a situation where you're going to take on a superpower, a country with the most nuclear weapons on Earth, and you're going to go and take them on, and you're going to rely on the United States and the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom doesn't have the ability to defend itself regardless. Even its own nuclear arsenal is dependent. If the UK wanted to use it, it's not an independent nuclear deterrent. They have to get American permission. So things like that. But if you're going to rely on those countries and to go against your neighbour and stuff like that, I think it was obvious that Ukraine was fucked right from the very beginning. But anyway, people like Lindsey Graham are attracted to those situations because there's also the rumour mill is very strong about the sort of things that he got up to in his private life when he was over there. There's testimony coming out now of male prostitutes and things like that, and what they're saying about the things that they got up to, what they were paid to do. So, but I won't get into that. Not that I'm afraid of it, I just don't want to. But with regards to Israel, we've got things like this. People like him are attracted to places like that. It's the birds of a feather thing, flock together. As my old granny used to say, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. And I think that's what this is. So, check this out. This is a video I found on Reddit from, I suppose, when it was posted on a Reddit forum called Israel Exposed. So check this out.
When I tell you that Israeli society is even more depraved than you already think, I'm not being hyperbolic. Don't believe me? Well, listen the fuck up. But a pre-warning, this video covers some incredibly dark topics.
Fuck Israel!
In March of 2008, the Das Israel School of Melbourne arranged and paid for an urgent 1:15 a.m. departure from Melbourne to Tel Aviv for Malka Leifer and 4 of her children. Malka Leifer was the principal of the ultra-Orthodox Das Israel School. Shortly after this flight, she was charged with 70 sex offences against 8 alleged victims. Due to Malka's poor mental state and interference by Israel's former Minister of Health, Yaakov Litzman, it'd be 15 years before Malka would be extradited back to Australia to answer for these crimes. She spent those years living freely in a West Bank settlement, committing more crimes against children of which she has never answered for. This is not an isolated incident. Director of the Usual Suspects, Brian Singer, has been hiding out in Israel for years following abuse allegations. Former head of Mexico's criminal investigation agency, Thomas Zeron, lives comfortably in Tel Aviv despite being wanted over the disappearance and torture of 43 students. Jewish Community Watch report that since 2014, over 60 pedophiles have used the law of return to escape justice. The Matzov Association, which tracks pedophiles in Israel, claims tens of thousands of pedophiles operate in Israel every year. So how can all this happen under the nose of the Israeli government? It doesn't. This is Shoshana Struk, daughter of Israel's far-right Minister for Settlements, Orit Struk. In 2025, Shoshana went to authorities with allegations of ritual sex abuse at the hands of her parents and brother. Israeli authorities immediately issued what the Times of Israel has called the most sweeping gag order in recent memory. So in early 2026, Shoshana took her allegations to Instagram. She alleged that from the age of 2 onward, her parents took her to ritualistic pedophile ceremonies where sex abuse, drugs, and hypnosis were used to create different identities within her. Now, before you dismiss this, the CIA has admitted to experimenting with these exact same ideas more than 50 years ago. Friends,
The CIA thing, that's called MK Ultra. That's real. That's a thing that fucking happens. Happened. Still happens. It's not see this whole thing about don't get me. Ooh.
stated Shoshana was not suicidal and that she wanted to live. Nevertheless, a month after these videos were posted, she was found dead. Authorities ruled it a suicide without an investigation. And this is not an isolated claim. Similar reports are so prominent in Israel that a group of female psychiatrists have united to try to seek justice. Originally, they found these claims hard to believe, but the testimonies regarding depths of human evil that is hard to fathom just kept on coming. They've now collated testimonies from more than 50 victims. They characterize the abuse as follows: organized and repetitive abuse involving physical, emotional, sexual, and spiritual violence, often carried out within the framework of structured rituals schools, at times utilising religious and cultic symbols. Its purpose is total control over the victims and deep indoctrination of patterns of submission within the victim. The alleged perpetrators, doctors, rabbis, educators, police officers, and former and current Knesset members. So is it a shock when polls show that 61% of Israeli men don't view forced sex with an acquaintance as rape, or that 100% of Thai agricultural workers in Israel report sexual assault, or that IDF soldiers brag on television about how much action their military dogs got in Gaza, when Palestinian prisoners have been reporting systematic sex abuse inside Israeli prisons for decades. So let's be very fucking clear. Israeli society is sick to its core and the facts leave no room for doubt. Never forget that 47% of Israelis support the total genocide of a conquered city. With all this in mind, let's talk about the blind loyalty of Western politicians to this depraved terrorist state in part 2.
So there's another video of this, which I haven't got, but I'm going to bring you over to... Now, this is fucking fucked, right? Now, I have a folder on my X account, right? So I can see, you can save your bookmarks, right? And you can put, if you can put them into a folder. I have a folder called Dog Rips. This is true. I have a fucking folder on my X account called Dog Rips. And in it, I have all this. Now, not all of it is about dog rapes, but most of it is about sexual assault. So here is like dog rapes. Do you know this? They train dogs to rape prisoners. This is verified. This is real. This is a thing that fucking happens in Israel. We know this. Yet no, we can't get Andy Burnham, the unelected, soon-to-be new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, a place in which I don't have a fucking say, and I have no vote. So where's my democracy? We can't get him to say that what Israel's doing is a genocide. You can say, it appears that there's war crimes. But does dog rape by dogs fall under your definition of war crimes, Andy? The northern fucking cheeky chappy that he's just a lad, yeah, Andy, but fuck him, he's a Zionist fucking shill like the fucking rest of them. And you know how you know he's a Zionist shill? Because he's going to be the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. United Kingdom is a Zionist captured territory. So is the United States. So is most of Europe. You don't get to be up there unless you're under the boot of these people. And how do you get to be under the boot of these people? There's two ways you get to have an Israeli boot on your fucking neck. Three. One, be a Palestinian or a Lebanese. That's one. Two, bribes. Three, compromat. Lindsey Graham is an example of the bribes and the compromat, although I don't think you needed to bribe him at all. And I think the compromat was willing. Trump and all the rest of them, the compromat is there, the bribery is there. They're sexual deviants. And that's all you need. Just give them a little taste of what they want. That's what the Jeffrey Epstein project was all about. Was creating the compromat, which by the way is also the interesting thing is the compromat the people around the world are being exposed are going to have over them is what you have on your phone, things you do in your private life. So you don't need a Jeffrey Epstein now because your phone gets hacked like that. And it does. And that's why all these new laws are being brought in. 16-year-olds are being banned off social media in the UK and Australia and places like that. These people don't give a fuck about 16-year-olds. They don't give a fuck about the under 16s unless they can fucking ride them. It seems to me. They don't care. They don't care about 16. They're watching a genocide happening. If they know what's happening, you know what's happening, I know what's happening, so they fucking know what's happening. They don't give a shit about 16-year-olds, either in their own country or anybody else's. The 16-year-old social media ban is a trick. And you have to oppose this. In order for you to prove that you're to ban an under 16 from going on social media, you have to prove you're over 16. So they're framing it as that they're protecting the young people. They're not. They're stopping. First of all, they're stopping them going onto social media and seeing what's going on in the world, which is across the board, every country on earth. The younger people are against everything that's going on. But in order to do that, they have to get you to prove you're... How can you prove that you're over 16? How can you go onto social media by proving that you're over 16? I mean, it's digital ID for you, the adult, but they're framing it as if they're trying to protect kids. But we know from the evidence that we see every fucking day that they don't give a fuck about kids. If they give a fuck about kids, they would ban Coca-Cola. There you go. But they're not going to do that. They would stop McDonald's from making chicken McNuggets out of fucking beak, claw, feathers and skin. Create a product called pink slime and making it look like a chicken nugget. And to the smart ass that thought he got me with a whipsie, whenever I fucking put up, I did put up a report that, what do you call him, the chef, Jamie Oliver, was taking McDonald's to court and it turned out it was a fake news story, right? But I reposted it. Some smart ass comes along and goes, "That's not true. McDonald's don't do that anymore. They stopped doing it in 2011. That's your gotcha. That's the gotcha. McDonald's stopped doing it in 2011, so therefore I'm a fucking idiot and I fell for fake news. Why did they stop doing it in 2011? It mightn't have been because of what Jamie Oliver did, but it was due to public pressure. I remember it at the time. But they were fucking doing it, and the reason they stopped doing it is because they responded to their customer base. Being outraged, rightfully outraged. So if the government give a fuck about children, they would ban this stuff automatically. They would have pesticides, the roundups and all these hormone disruptors in cosmetics. My wife does a bit of work on this. The amount of hormone disrupting chemicals, especially in female products, sanitary products, it's insane. The government would ban that. They would ban those, but they don't. They don't give a shit about young or old. Quite clear. Don't need to convince anybody of that. But let's get to my folder on Twitter. My folder that's called Dog Rips. I swear to fucking God, I'll show you. There's there. If you're listening to this and you want to see what I'm showing you, there's it there. There's the folder name. Israeli Dog Rips. It's on the screen now. I have a folder on my Twitter X account called Israeli Dog Rips. It's not all about dog rips, ripping dogs, but you get the point. So here is filmmaker Julia. I was raped by an Israeli soldier inside a darkened shipping container while handcuffed and shackled on a Gaza aid flotilla. Here is the woman's testimony. Oh, why is that not playing? Sorry, give me a second. Yep. Oh, God. Oh, isn't this always the fucking way of it? Sorry, let me do this again. $270 nautical. So here she is. This is a different one, but I don't know why the audio on that didn't work, but here you go. Same lady, Julia Lamont, an Australian documentary maker, filmmaker, and was on the Gaza Aid Flotilla. So we'll listen to as much of this as we can.
270 nautical miles from Gaza. So we were intercepted in international waters. But at the time, because we saw, what looked like to be sort of 17-year-olds in balaclavas in broad daylight, it wasn't quite as scary initially. And they drove the boat like they stole it, literally. I think it was a 35-minute journey that was really fast with guns in our faces. And then we arrived at the, monumental, monstrous prison ship that a lot of people have talked about. And then that was the threshold of it becoming, a very, very frightening, fearing for your life situation. They knew my name when they dragged me onto the deck. I was cable tied. My ankles were shackled. They put so much water under my face. I had no ability to move. And every time I tried to get away from the water to stop sort of gurgling and drowning, they'd slap me again, stand on the back of my legs.
They waterboarded her?
Yeah, I thought that was my number was up, and I'd only been on that boat for about 20 minutes. I thought that I was going to drown. And that was, that was the welcome to Israel, because that's...
And before any fucking smartass fucking comes at me saying, well, you shouldn't be doing it, the flotillas are legal. The blockade is illegal. They're not breaking any laws.
Exactly what they said when I got on the boat. Welcome to Israel. You're going to really enjoy this, is what they said. Other bodies would be thrown onto me. It was sort of like sardined, and you could feel other people kind of, in different, different levels of anguish, lots of screams, lots of thudding. Then I was dragged along a corridor. They looked at my passport. They recognised that I'd been there before, and they told me that he had an American accent, and he said, "I want to kill someone today, and it potentially might be you." And then I was dragged towards what we sort of ended up calling a torture tunnel. It's a shipping container that kind of had an entrance to it where you could vaguely see the silhouette of 5 soldiers inside, and I was pushed inside that space. I was slapped and kicked. I was sexually assaulted. They threw me on the ground. They broke my coccyx, kicked me in the back. And the strangest thing, and the thing that I remember the most is not the blows, and it was not the sort of like the internal sexual assault. It was this really, really big man who was pulling at my hair like a child, like a boy would in a playground, doing it to a girl that he didn't really understand. It was really infantile and puerile.
Juliet, I apologise for being intrusive here, but when you say that you were sexually assaulted, it's important this. What exactly did they do?
So they wrenched my trousers and my underwear down, and it felt like that it was inserted with a hand. It wasn't a gun. I found out later that other people had guns inserted inside them. I don't think that it was a penis, but there was so much going on. But I was vaginally raped by one of the male soldiers. As I was, you basically, your head's down. They're putting you in a stress position, so your head's down, and your sort of posterior is very sort of available to be, dealt with, and your hands are behind your back, and your ankles are shackled. So, it's while you're being sort of jostled, hit, sworn at in the dark. I mean, it's a really discombobulating, horrific experience. Then a door was opened, and I was thrown out into an open kind of area where I could see probably maybe about 60 people on the deck of that boat. And my daughter, Isla, who was 25, ran up to me. My mouth was bleeding. They'd punched me in the face. And I was just sort of surrounded by love. And I was just really, it was really nice to see that my daughter was all right. And we talked about, how much violence and...
Oh my God. So there is another article from Double Down News. Here is Anna Kasparian.
A scathing report by Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor finds evidence of sexual torture of Palestinian detainees, and they find that it's organized state policy endorsed by the highest political, military, and judicial authorities in Israel. Here's a headline about it. Middle East Eye reported on the report, saying, "I wished for death. Sexual violence in Israel's prisons is an organized state policy." I want to give you a few of the highlights in the report. So it relies on testimony from former detainees, Palestinian detainees. One former detainee, a 42-year-old woman from North Gaza who was held in the notorious Sid Timan Detention Center, said she was bound naked to a metal table and repeatedly raped by 2 masked soldiers over the course of 2 days. She recalled that she was left shackled, naked, and bleeding throughout the night before the soldiers returned the next day to continue raping her. She said the entire ordeal was recorded, filmed. Amir, a 35-year-old Palestinian man who was also held at the same facility, recounted how soldiers forced him to strip naked before their dogs urinated on him and raped him. He described how the dog penetrated my anus in a trained manner while I was being beaten. And he says that this continued for several minutes. I felt profoundly humiliated and violated. And guess what? Other men described very similar instances of rape and sexual abuse carried out with the use of canines. Khalid, an attorney with the Commission of Detainees and Ex-Detainees Affairs, described how a soldier at the same facility inserted a fire extinguisher nozzle into a Palestinian prisoner's anus and then discharged its contents into his body, resulting in severe internal injuries and intense pain.
Jesus.
I don't know, Cenk, should I continue with the fair and balanced reporting? Because we haven't been getting balanced reporting in the United States as it pertains to the war crimes, atrocities, and genocide carried out by the Israelis. So war crimes are ugly. This behavior by the Israelis, real ugly, real ugly. And it's about time that someone actually point a mirror to them so they can get a good hard look at what they look like.
Yeah, we must continue doing fair and balanced reporting and mourning the ghoulish when they die, like Lindsey Graham. We mustn't be mean about that. But you can't. If the media in the West were giving us these stories, these are all verified, by the way. This is not speculation. This is not anti-Semitism. This is true. And if you were getting this on Sky News, Channel 4 News, the BBC, CNN, MSNBC in the States, and News France 24, etc., across Europe, if you were getting these stories as well as, the other side, the fair and the balanced stuff, you would go, well, okay. But they won't. You can't. They won't do it. Because it will just further expose the atrocities being committed by one side. This is not a both sides, a two-ism thing. It's not. They're doing it. The other side are not. All the so-called rapes that happened on October the 7th did not happen. All the people that were murdered, I still contest that most of them were killed by Israel. And that will come out. It's been out. Haaretz themselves have reported on it. I've played you testimony from the pilots, some of the pilots who were ordered to go back to base to reload and then go back and empty their tanks. And you can't destroy cars like that when you see the footage and the pictures. You can't destroy cars like that with an AK-47 when you're on a hang glider wearing flip-flops. You just can't do it. And then they buried all the evidence. Says, we're going to make this tribute to the victims. There's a reason that they won't give you these stories, because it just further puts a highlight on the one-sided atrocity that is being committed by the people of Palestine and now Lebanon. So here's Francesca Albanese just exposed the ugly truth. The New York Times ignored Palestinian rape testimonies for over a year. She gave them a lengthy interview in February 24. Nothing followed. UNRWA detailed torture, sexual abuse. Nothing. B'Tselem, Physicians for Human Rights, the UN Committee Against Torture, which concluded torture is Israeli state policy. The UN Commission, which called it systematic, widespread, and an act of genocide, all ignored. But now the New York Times finally publishes. Suddenly it's a scandal. It's been going on for years.
I'm still trying to figure out why and what in this report triggered so much attention, while in fact sexual abuse, including rape, has been reported for longer than 1 year. As I've said publicly, in February 2024, I dealt with the first cases of women who had been detained, women from Gaza who had been detained by the Israeli army and reported severe forms of sexual abuse. I even gave an interview, a lengthy interview to the New York Times, and nothing followed. Then there has been a report issued by UNRWA detailing torture, including sexual abuse. And then Adamir, PCHR, B'Tselem, Israeli organizations like B'Tselem, Physicians for Human Rights. And I even presented 2 months ago, 1.5 months ago, a report about torture in the context of genocide. Before that, the UN Committee Against Torture issued a report concluding, after examining states' practices in Israel, that torture is a state policy. And the UN Commission on Israel-Palestine concluded that torture was systematic, widespread, and amounted to genocide, to an act of genocide. So I don't know why the New York Times is more worthy than all other reports and the voice and the findings of established human rights monitors.
Well,
and then we'll go on a little, but I want to show you. So you can see all these headlines here. They're not protesting against the sexual torture of Palestinians. They're protesting against the New York Times for reporting it. So just what Francesca Albanese, who is an absolute hero. This is a protest outside the New York Times by Zionists. It says, let's be clear, they're not protesting the sexual torture of Palestinians by the Israeli authorities. They're protesting against the New York Times for reporting on it. How fucking sick are these people? And we'll just finish up. Mehdi Hassan. We've got one more thing to show. Oh, will I show you? Yeah, Nick Cruz. So, Nick Cruz did this little hotspot thing that he does, which is fucking great, by the way. If you don't know who he is, you should follow him. Nick Cruz, NickCruse, Socialist MMA is his tag. So check out his little hotspot on this. So Nick Cruz, sorry, got a wee interruption there. Check him out, and he's going to give us one of his hotspot takes, which are always good.
The New York Times finally writes an article exposing how Israel systemically uses and sexual violence as a tool of war. And now Zionists are melting down now that their code has been completely exposed. We covered this months ago, but the Western corporate media is just now catching up because the evidence regarding mass committed by Israeli soldiers and prison guards has become completely overwhelming. There has been countless testimonies, including Israeli soldiers openly admitting that they use dogs in order to Palestinian prisoners.
Dogs!
I was in the Navy guarding patrol boats. and you're the guy with the iPhone who had the vibrator shoved right up his ass. And everyone were you involved in this incident? You filmed it. You're the one who filmed it. He's the Ashkenazi who filmed it. What you're doing to a friend is not nice. Did you really hear about Nukhbat? And is it true they're kept on the floor, but blindfolded like all day in the yard?
No, not these ones.
Are
yes,
there Nukhbat like more ripe, less ripe? How is that? Only the ripe ones are taken to what? How do you separate the Nukhbat? How do you know who to put on your lap?
He participates in worse things.
Suddenly, Diochi.
By the way, that is a stand-up comedian in Israel, and that's the Israeli population laughing at that.
You're exposing things here that would practically put you, the driver, on a watch list even before Bibi and Gala. They'll say arrest him first. Forget about Bibi, just go and arrest this fella. So are you saying you're hitting them based on what they've done and then you're punishing them in a different way? What is this? Someone who said don't give out information. And what do you say? Come on, since you're in the dark and all, what's the worst thing you did to them? Come on, spoil us a bit. What?
Keep the right to remain silent.
Nice, I'm really liking it.
Oh, wonderful. The entire audience of Crimes Against Humanity is applauding. How lovely.
See, you came with a weapon. You came with a dog. Who is this dog?
This dog is Django, with me in every activity, with me in reserves.
Django?
He was in Gaza.
Yes, they use dogs to people. Israel is the most barbaric, evil society in modern human history. And this is being reported by the New York Times, a paper completely ran and controlled by Zionists. That's how you know the evidence is absolutely overwhelming. And Zionists are absolutely furious that the New York Times is exposing their barbaric code. And now they're using the same pathetic, lazy trope, smearing them for blood libel against the Jewish people. Notice how there's no cause for investigation from these Zionist scumbags. They always defend their genocidal tribe. Now we have Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel that claims they're going to sue the New York Times for exposing their barbaric society. Sir, you was caught on video engaging in of a Palestinian prisoner, and Israeli soldiers and guards openly brag about how they use sexual violence as a tool of war. This is just a typical Zionist media intimidation tactic in order to prevent journalists from exposing the crimes of Israel. But it's too late. The people in the West woken up to who Israel actually is, and there's no putting that genie back in the bottle.
So there we go. So that's the dog rips, and here, just to put a pin in this, we're going to finish with this now. Here is an article from, let me just resize this, god damn it. This is from a report by Owen Jones. Owen Jones Battle Lines is Owen Jones News. This is his blog. So there's a picture of it. So there's a picture of the Israeli guards with the dogs and the Palestinian prisoners lying on the ground. Last month I reported numerous testimonies from Palestinians who said the Israeli state used dogs to rape detainees. Mainstream media outlets have overwhelmingly failed to report on this, just as they have largely ignored Israel's industrialized use of sexual violence against Palestinians broadly. Now that has changed, at least in part. The New York Times has published a piece by Nicholas Kristof, a twice Pulitzer Prize-winning foreign affairs commentator who reports as so, etc., etc. So there you go. So that's his Substack. So there we go. That's where we are. That's what you were dealing with, and that's why you're an anti-Semite if you mention it. Unfucking believable. Okay, so as we know, the ongoing crisis in Lough Neagh continues unabated and certainly uninterrupted by and unassisted by, let me swap my glasses, our political class. In fact, I would say that they're complicit. And again, show me the fucking money, Lebowski. It's all to do with that. I don't understand the way these people think. It's like, you have to drink this water too. You have to live here as well. You have to, your children, your what do you think they're going to do when this place becomes a fucking dead zone, which is what it has been allocated. So, check this out. This article from D-Smog. I think this is a UK publication. So Northern Ireland has been turned into a sacrifice zone to feed the UK's appetite for meat. Nearly 2/3 of the country's pig and poultry farms are leaching polluting manure into the loch that supplies half the region's drinking water, according to research. And this is by Shauna Core. This is staggering, and if you're happy about this, I'm not. And again, this is, I don't want to sound all, I don't want to overreach here, but this is a part of colonialisation. This is a part of the legacy of colonialisation. This is what colonialisation does. It's a part of the capitalism. When it ran out of its own energy, it needed to go abroad and steal and rob and exploit abroad in order just to keep the capitalist machine going. But anyway, I digress. But so this is quite a lengthy article. I'm going to get through a fair bit. I think I'll probably get through it all. So let's just get stuck into this. Northern Ireland's largest source of drinking water is besieged by toxic pollution linked to the government drive to accelerate pig and poultry farming, new research shows. There's a map. The scale of pig and poultry farming in Northern Ireland tracks the rise in intensive farming and correlating decline in water quality over 13 years since the launch of a national plan to accelerate the growth of farming, fishing, food and drink production. That's called, Going for Growth strategy, introduced by the then DUP Agriculture Minister Edwin Poots. The small nation of 1.9 million, not a nation, has the highest density of pigs, poultry in the UK, with more chickens and pigs than Scotland and Wales combined, the research shows. Published today, the 9th of July, by the Friends of the Earth Northern Ireland, the multimedia research agency Materiality, the report finds that the harmful nutrients from the excess manure created by intensive farming directly impacted the soils and water in Northern Ireland, whilst the vast majority of the profitable animal products are exported elsewhere. Over 63% of poultry, eggs, pork by revenue are sold in England, Scotland and Wales. The data shows, according to the report, Northern Ireland, which makes up just 6% of the UK's land mass and 3% of its population, consumes only a small proportion of its produce, but has been left to deal with the resulting manure with devastating environmental consequences. Take a bit of gum out of my mouth. The research includes newly released figures dating back to 2012, the year before the Going for Growth strategy was approved by the Northern Ireland Executive without any official environment assessments to identify or protect against pollution. Poultry numbers rose by 34% since then, and with 74% increase in pigs, this resulted in a 51% rise in manure, which contains the nutrients, phosphorus, nitrates and ammonia, which harm ecosystems, pollute the air, soil and waterways when excessively applied to land. In 2024 alone, 138 million chickens, 1.9 million pigs were slaughtered in Northern Ireland, the research found. Loch Ness, the UK's largest lake, which provides half of Northern Ireland's drinking water, has been consumed by toxic cyanobacteria since 2023, killing wildlife, costing jobs and leaving it unsafe for recreation. I can certainly attest to that. I can't swim in it anymore. These blue-green algal blooms now coat the lake's surface every year and are so extreme that can be seen from space. The newly released official data reveals 64% of poultry and 61% of pigs were raised in that area that drains into Loch Ness. The report also highlights how levels of phosphorus, the main agricultural pollutant feeding blue-green algae, rose rapidly after the Going for Growth strategy was introduced and has remained dangerously high ever since. Northern Ireland has become a sacrifice zone to feed the UK's appetite for chicken and pork, said Friends of the Earth Northern Ireland Director James Orr, commenting on the report. We have a model of factory farming where most of the profits and meat go overseas, and we are left drowning in the shit. The huge amounts of pig waste, chicken litter spread as fertiliser on already saturated fields has disastrous consequences for lakes, providing our drinking water. We need to turn off the tap of toxic waste. Are you happy about this? Because I'm fucking really, really, really not happy about this. I get that you have to have exports, but we can't do this. We are going to be living in a toxic wasteland within a decade if we don't stop this. Destination manure. The report pinpoints the location of intensive livestock farms, and there, by the way, there's a map on the screen of the poultry and pig farms in Northern Ireland, and they're all conspicuously on rivers or surrounding Lough Neagh. All the rivers flow into Lough Neagh except one anyway. And you can see there on the screen the proliferation of them all around the loch. According to the analysis, Northern Ireland has 1,006 farms raising poultry, 403 farms keeping pigs, and 211 poultry farms and 14 pig farms licensed as intensive, which means they can stock up to 21 million poultry and over 95,000 pigs. And they're still licensing more. As I spoke about in this podcast relatively recently, there's another one being licensed down in Armagh, and there's another one being licensed in County Derry. The intensive ones. County Tyrone holds the biggest volume of pigs and poultry at 54 birds per and 1.5 pigs per person, compared to national averages of 13 birds per capita and 52 pigs per square kilometre. Great Britain, on the other hand, has an average of 2 chickens per person and 17 pigs per square kilometre. I'm going to bump on. That gets a bit wonky. So supplying GB. The report identifies the major Northern Ireland companies across the poultry, meat, eggs and pig sector who subcontract farmers and supply supermarkets. Pilgrims, Cranswick's, Sofina, Ready Egg, Skye Eggs supply most major UK retailers including Aldi, Asda, Iceland, Lidl, Morrison's, M&S, Ocado, Sainsbury's, Tesco and Waitrose. Waitrose, Ocado, Morrison's and Aldi do not operate shops in Northern Ireland. Pilgrims is owned by Brazil-based JBS, which is the largest meat producer in the world. It is Northern Ireland's dominant poultry company with 2 slaughterhouses in Ballymena and Dungannon and a feed mill in Randallstown. All of the retailers were contacted for comment. Most did not respond to questions about how they will address concerns about factory farming impacts on Lough Neagh and other water bodies. A spokesperson for Waitrose said no pork and minimal amount of eggs is sourced from Northern Ireland, while M&S said it takes poultry or pollution extremely seriously and its suppliers and farmers are third-party farm assured. That's convenient. Pilgrims Europe, also known as Moy Park, has agreed a number of litter strategies within Northern Ireland's Environment Agency since 2014. However, the report shows that the companies spread far more poultry litter on Northern Ireland's fields than agreed. That's called a pollution. That's called a pollution. They did a pollution multiple times with no fines. The Growing for Growth strategy has also been called a polluter's charter. So basically they reduced the fines for confirmed spills, be they deliberate or otherwise. And then, so what that does is, in fact, say that if you can afford to pay the fine, have at it. So we'll skip on. There's also, so this gets into the water testing. So we know that we know what the pollution, where it comes from and why it's tolerated. Water testing gaps. According to Northern Ireland's Agri-Food and Biosciences Institute, around 60% of the chemical elements polluting Lough Neagh are from agriculture, over 20% from sewage and the rest from septic tanks, industry and households. Department for Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs, DAERA, Minister Andrew Muir, who has served in the role since February 2014, said going for growth was a mistake after the blue-green algae choked Lough Neagh. He's repeatedly warned that the recovery could take decades. The recovery will take decades. Also, I did an episode segment on why Andrew Muir is unfit for this role, based basically solely on his liberal politics. He's a capitalist. They will not fix this, because fixing this means cutting off the supply of nutrients going into the loch. That means shutting these fuckers down, and they won't do it. Or unless you can figure out a way of cleaning it before it goes in, but it means they're going to have to pay for it, and they won't do that either. As I've always said, charge them 1% to clean up before it goes in, set up another department to clean up before it goes in to the waterways. They will literally lift that factory and move it to fucking Poland or somewhere rather than pay that 1%. And at which point, whenever the environment becomes so toxic that even they can't operate, they're going to move it to Poland anyway. So it's a lose-lose. We're to lose-lose. I'll go down to the end and finish, because this, I don't want to, just hearing me read is boring. DAERA launched a 37 million soil nutrient health scheme in 2022, inviting farmers to find out where they are spreading so much manure it could pollute water through soil sample tests. These tests were carried out in 4 tranches, with the 3 completed areas containing too much phosphate in the soil on average, resulting in excess nutrients that could cause water pollution. Pilgrims Europe, that's my park, disputed the findings of Friends of the Earth's NI report, stating it intentionally relies on out-of-date information, some over 10 plus years old, incorrect assumptions, and does not accurately represent where we are as a company today. They said 80% of the poultry litter in Northern Ireland was used off-land, and that they have plans to remove all of this off-land by 2028. Minister Liz Kimmins, who oversees waste and drinking water infrastructure and planning policy in Northern Ireland, says her priority is dealing with wastewater infrastructure, and that a solution requires a whole government approach. The Friends of the Earth Northern Ireland is now calling for a moratorium on new factory farms and a reduction in animal numbers with just transition for farmers. The people of Northern Ireland and our rivers and lakes need a breathing space from the relentless pollution, said Director James Orr. We can easily reduce the number of caged animals and redirect existing and future funding towards a just transition, a transition that benefits farmers instead of profiteering by global agri-food corporations. See, this is the fucking point. All we're using our land for, all we're using our loch for, is extraction, exploitation, and waste. Dumping of waste. This is not what Northern Ireland should be doing. We should be doing other things, such as the tourism. We should be doing the tourism more. We do nowhere near enough of that. That loch is empty. It's devoid of boats. There are no restaurants around it. A handful. And actually, no good ones that I can think of. Cafes and canteens is as much as what I can think of. There's very little in that way. Hotels, very little in that way. Now, obviously, I don't think we should just line the banks of the loch with hotels and restaurants, but you get the point. We're underutilising our natural environment at the expense of overutilising our natural environment in one department, from one direction only, which is extractivism. We're dumping shit into it. We're pulling sand out of it. We're pulling fish out of it. We're pulling eels out of it, to the point that we can't do it anymore, which has arrived already. And all the way of the eel, the way it's gone, the fishing season's only lasted 5 days this year. The way it's gone, so will go everything else. Eventually, we're not going to be able to dump any more into it. We're actually there now, but we're going to get to the point where it's going to be unavoidable. At which point, these companies that are doing this are going to fucking leave. So, just to put a pin in that article, my comrade Amor, she did a great video that went viral during the week. This young woman is a member of People Before Profit, the branch that I'm a member of, and she did this video, and it was just concise, to the point, fantastic, about the article. So let's check it out.
Friends of the Earth and I have just released an incredible, while horrific, report on the state of the North of Ireland's animal agriculture, pollution and Lough Neagh. We have in the North alone 138 million poultry and 1.9 million pigs killed annually. 2/3 of these poultry and pig farms are found in the Lough Neagh catchment area. That includes farms like Moy Park. The report reveals that Moy Park is spreading 20 times more manure on fields than it is legally allowed to. At the same time, we have insufficient water monitoring, particularly around Lough Neagh, but we already know that there's an inconceivable amount of damage that has been done to our wildlife, our freshwater ecosystems, our soil integrity, and our own public health because of the runoff from industrial animal agriculture and because of the intensive practices that these industrialised animal agriculture businesses use. This is while the North of Ireland covers 3% of the UK's total land mass, but accounts for well over 20% of its meat production. And this meat doesn't typically stay in the North of Ireland. This gets shipped out to England and internationally. So how has colonialism ended when we are still under the same extractive system where our land, our wildlife, our health gets abused for the name of profit?
Yes.
If you want to prevent more factory farms being developed, if you want to get involved in taking action or campaigning against factory farms that already exist in Armagh and Mahafelt around Lough Neagh, please do visit the link in the description. Please do get involved in Save Lough Neagh in People Before Profit. We have to end the capitalist extractive system that is just poisoning our lands, our waters, our wildlife and our bodies.
Bravo. Bravo.
Friends of the Earth.
And just on that, I mean that's perfect. So the last little bit about this, our friend Declan Coney, who is a fisherman there up in Mahafelt. If you've been on any of these marches, you will have met Declan. His livelihood has been, and his way of life has been absolutely devastated by what's going on in the loch. So, just resize this article. So here is the latest on that. This is just a follow-up. It's actually happened before, but we'll show you where we are. The fisherman launches a High Court challenge against Dara over the Lough Neagh pollution crisis. Eel fisherman Declan Conlon, sorry, not Declan Coney, I said Declan Coney, whose family has fished Lough Neagh for generations, has brought a judicial review against the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs. The case argues that Dara continues to rely on inadequate plans and unenforced pollution regimes despite clear evidence of ecological collapse over several years. It raises serious questions about how agricultural pollution is addressed by Dara in Northern Ireland. In a sworn affidavit to the High Court of Justice in Northern Ireland, Mr. Conlon described the deep generational connection his family has to the loch. Our father, James Gerard Conlon, was an eel fisherman. His father, Hughie Conlon, before him was an eel fisherman. Going further back than that, and beyond memory, my family would have all have been fishermen. My way of life has been destroyed by the blue-green algae, and I want Dara to do whatever it is necessary to stop the algae and safeguard and protect Lough Neagh, the fish, the flies, the wildlife, for the benefit of future generations. If you're wondering what the flies thing is, that's the Lough Neagh fly, the mayfly. It's what's called a key species. It's everything feeds on it, so you have to have that. And anyone that lives around the loch knows they have not been here for years. We used to get swarms of them. You would stay away. I cycle. Not as much as I should, but I used to race, so I would be out training every day. And this time of year, I would avoid the loch. Instead of going that way and doing, like, getting some nice loch scenery on my left shoulder or my right shoulder, I would avoid it and go inland. Because if you had a swarm of them bloody flies, it's almost as dangerous as possible to cycle through. Sometimes they get that thick. They haven't been here for years. So that's a food. It's gone from the fish, then the bird. There's not as much fish, and then the birds can't get the fish, and then there's not as much birds, etc., etc. So that's why they're called a key species. Speaking about the legal challenge, Declan Conlon says, "I fished Lough Neagh all my life, just like my father and his father before him. Now I'm watching it die in front of my eyes." This isn't just about my livelihood, it's about justice for the loch before there's nothing left for the next generations. Enda McGarity, director at PA Duffy & Co. and solicitor for Mr. Conlon, said, the case reflects the lived experience of those whose livelihoods depends on the health of the loch and is about securing justice for Loch Ness and the communities who rely on it. Declan Conlon has fished the loch his entire life, and he's witnessing in recent years is a collapse unlike anything seen before. Where there was once abundance, there are now no flies for eels to feed on, barely any birds, and stretches of water that smell so foul you could not stand near them. He has seen the impact with his own eyes, from wildlife disappearing to reports of animals becoming sick after contact with the water. The blue-green algae is not just unsightly, it poses a real risk to health. Declan did not take this case lightly. He has brought this challenge because he believes the loch, his livelihood, his way of life and the community depends on it, deserve proper protection under the law. So River Action UK and Friends of Earth Northern Ireland will apply to intervene. So that's a part of what this report. River Action's head of legal, Emma Delaney, said, Declan Conlon's case raises urgent questions about whether enough is being done to tackle the pollution driving the decline of the loch. Well, I think we know that the answer to that. River Action UK says, as a national organisation, River Action hopes to make sure that all jurisdictions in the UK are taking correct and consistent approach to dealing with the acute pollution crisis in our rivers and lakes. It's good to see, because the organisations over here are doing fuck all. Well, that's not true. Friends of the Earth Northern Ireland are doing great work, and there are various civic and charitable organisations all doing great work, but the people that have got the power are doing fuck all. So well done to everybody. Best of luck, Declan. Well done, Amor. That was a lovely little 2 or 3 minute little concise social media friendly post that did great business, and hopefully, unfortunately, it's very sad. And by the way, I'll say this, you see you fuckers that were commenting under the fucking thing, why you're an English person? It doesn't matter. She's English, she's actually from here, but she was raised over there, and she speaks with an English accent, absolutely. At least she's doing something. Fucking idiots. You fucking pricks. Fucking racism. Anyway, sorry, I digress. But, onwards. So that's the ongoing drama and fucking disaster that is Loch Ness. Okay. So, by the way, I am aware that I'm visibly melting on screen. It's fucking roasting in here. This is my studio. I built this a number of years ago to do my Northern Gothic album, and I really over-insulated it to try and, deaden the sound and stuff, because I do live in a street with neighbours and things. But, which is great in the winter. It doesn't take too much to heat it up. But in the summer, when we do get an odd, nice day, it's a fucking nightmare. It gets so hot, and it is roasting right now. But anyway, onwards. So, the old town. What's the old town? The hashtag this old town is real. So I will let my friend and yours, Cormac Neeson from California Iris, explain. And by the way, I'm going to play the song that we did for this. I won't play you their song because of a copyright thing. It's not. I can't do it without. I don't know if they've copyrighted this song yet. We will be copyrighting ours. Obviously, it's in process of being done, but because I own it, I can play it. So I'll let Cormac explain what the problem is, and then I'll stop the video before they play their music.
Hey everybody, we're California Irish from Belfast. Recently, an AI-generated song called The Old Town was played on and promoted by a high-profile radio station up around here. Now, as a band, we pride ourselves in keeping our music as real as we possibly can. We felt we needed to respond. So our response was to write our own song entitled The Old Town. This is a call to artists, songwriters, musicians, everywhere, wherever you are across the world, to do the same. Write your old town and make a stand for raw human emotion and the beautiful real stories that bring our songs to life. Thank you for listening. This is a song called The Old Town, and this Old Town is real.
So there we go. Isn't that fantastic? So what happened was, as Cormac touched upon, a particularly high-profile DJ, actually from the most popular commercial station in the north here. How anyone listens to that shite, I have absolutely no idea, because I can't. He played... He did an AI prompt, basically, into one of those AI music AIs, whatever they're called. I don't even know how these things work. I think Suno is one and whatever. But you basically put a prompt into it and it'll make a song for you. And the song, the prompt he put in was called The Old Town, and it made the song. But what he did was, which is so disgusting, he put it into this radio station's rotation, into its playlists, and then he put it on Spotify and what have you, and then he played it on the radio station. Maybe he got other DJs to do the same, which meant he was getting paid, which from someone that's a DJ that's supposed to be a lover of music is particularly insidious. There's something really shit about that. It's also an indicator of the decline in the value of music, and it's one of the reasons why real bands are starting to take their music off of Spotify and off the streaming services and have platforms like Bandcamp become their own online web stores, or go and see them at a gig to buy the stuff. The only places you can get the music are in physical stores. It's just getting pointless. It's get so bad. The enshittification of all these outlets, these platforms, is so bad that there's no opportunity there. See, it's always a payoff. These things are always a payoff. It's a balance. We'll allow you to do this, but we'll get this in the payoff if everything goes according to plan. If our music's good, it's the ultimate meritocracy. So we've been told. It is not, but this is what we get told. So if you allow us to do this, to exploit your music in a certain way and allow us to monetize it, you will be able to monetize it in this way, and we will put more eyeballs on your product. I hate using that word, but you get what I'm saying. And in the early days of the internet, that was very much true. We were very lucky in the Bonnevilles that we got started in the early days of social media, starting with MySpace back a million years ago. But that was a genuinely great platform, where if you put up good music and where you could interact directly with your fans, this has never happened before, and you did it in a good way, you would grow your band, which we did. But then the Facebooks come in, and over a period of a decade, they squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and this is where we've ended up. The AI and shitification of music. So Cormac put this together, and he reached out to me and said, listen, would you write a song for this? And others, there's others. So if you go to, I'll just put it in, I'll just search for it actually. California Irish. There's their website. So if he asked us, so if you go to the website there, I'll just resize this on the screen. Again, if you're watching this, fair play. If you're not watching this, go to YouTube or my Patreon, and you can watch it for free. I prefer you watched it on the Patreon, because the enshittification, everything's about what we're doing now, as well as trying to keep our music alive and keep ourselves motivated. You can be motivated. If everything you do just gets spat out into the ether and no one hears it, your motivation goes. It's hard. It's right. Young people coming up today, I have no idea. It's their youthful energy that's being exploited to death, because I'm a certain age and I don't have the energy for it. But so there, if you go to the californiairish.co.uk, and there's the link, the Old Town Project, you can see it on the screen there. You can sign up. So that's just a sign up link, and you can go, and you'll be put in direct contact with California Irish's manager. I can't remember his name. I do apologize. Sorry. And you will. Oh, Just trying to resize this on the screen for you so that you get everything. Jumping about. I know I'm jumping about, but stay with me. It's worth it. So there's a page with all the artists that have put up videos so far, and the Bonnevilles are one of those. So there's California Irish themselves, Charlie Hanlon, Ronan McSorley, the Bonnevilles. There's the Bonnevilles one. I'll play that in a second. Eva Rowan, Eva Kearney, Donald Scullion, and a lot of the artists also have put up the ones that aren't just listed here. There's much more than that. I think there was 3 went up last night alone. They've put these up on their own pages, and they will be listed when there's a video to list. It will be listed on this website. All of these are fantastic. Extra special shout out to my buddy Eva Kearney from Aqua Tofana. I know this hasn't been listed, so I might play you this. I think I'm going to risk it. I'm going to play Eva's as well. Absolutely beautiful. I'm in love with this song. My wife is in love with this song. We think it's the best song she's ever done, and she did this lovely little video and stuff. So I'll play you the Bonnevilles one, and I'll play you while the Bonnevilles one, because I've got it loaded in. While the Bonnevilles one is playing, I'll play you Eva. I'll find Eva's one and download it and play it for you next. So you get it. So we all went and wrote a song called The Old Town. All very different. All very different artists. I think Chris's heavy metal band is putting the video up soon and things like that. So this is took on its own steam. Maybe we'll all go and do a wee gig, and it's our little way of fighting back against the poison that is the AI revolution that's happening at the minute. It's not an evolution, it's a revolution. AI is just the world's greatest plagiarism machine. And again, I'll have another little quote from someone that commented on one of our videos. I've got it here. And he put it in a way that I couldn't put it any better myself. And this is from Mark Anderson Audio, who's another musician. He says, under our YouTube video, he says, good stuff. And this is it. The only reason they call it AI, because calling it global scale intellectual property theft that will destroy the best part about being alive is harder to pitch to investors. Isn't that fantastic? So here we go. Check out the Bonnevilles version of our version of Old Town. town, in my old town. Like walking, like walking, like walking, like walking, my old town, my old town. So there we go. My Old Town by the Bonnevilles, and I'm going to play Ava's version of it now too. I wanted to do that. So that video, where is it? There's it there. That video, I wanted to do it like that. I deliberately wanted to do something so stupid and silly, and you know, I wanted to do it so daft, because the point was that even that is better than your AI slap. That's the point. I did that in one take, just paper down on the fucking table. Again, if you haven't watched this, you can go and you can download it on our Bandcamp. You can also you can go and watch it on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all that. So it's in all the places. But that's better. There's no art in that AI stuff. It's just plagiarism. It's theft. So, to the next thing, Ava's version. Now, this is absolutely fucking gorgeous. I love this song. I love all the songs that everybody did, but I'm giving my pal Ava Kearney from Aqua Tofana a big shout out. Part of the Lurgan Massive, because she's so awesome and we love her so much. And she's playing here, by the way, in our house at Chacul. She's playing at the end of the, what date? Sorry, I just gave actually we should. I just realised I should have been plugging this right from the start. Chacul, 25th of July. Ava is playing here with her band at our Chacul. So here we go. Check out this song and this lovely video from Ava. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I'll hide me and give Ava the screen. And here we go.
If life could be home, I'd ask you to stay. I'd be on my own. I'd be any way, 'cause I don't know where I belong. I've been many a place, I've been on the wage, myself sleeping to bed. I slept on the couch, I've been in the wrong house. I told myself lies, oh so much lies. Where did I slip up in my life? I'll go for a walk, maybe a long walk. I'll do what I like, I'll make it home to that old town I like, and stay on my own, do what I'm told, and I won't be old, 'cause I have my own company. So don't slip away, just take it day by day. You're nothing, nothing if not set in your own ways. 'Cause you write songs and you sing along, and time I'll blow a kiss, 'cause I'm feeling strange, strange, strange in so many ways. Like on my own, I'm back in this old town. I'll go to the bar, stay out after dark, and remember.
Wow. How fucking awesome was that? Oh my god, I love that song. A fair play to Eva. That was stunning. Absolutely stunning. Kind of breathtaking, really. That's the talent we have here in the Wee Lurgan, the old town. So, yeah. So get involved in that. Go and lend us support. Go and find all the artists. Hashtag This Old Town is real. And, yeah. And come and see Eva play. There are tickets left for Chackule. The end of the month, 25th of July. Eva and Aquatofana, her band, are playing here at the house. Hashtag This Old Town is real. Okay, so the culture section of the episodes that I almost always forget to do. So you already got this Old Town bit, which is class. There's also this other bit. So on last Thursday, Chris and I, we went across to Germany to play Red Oak Fest, which is a place we've played, I think, 7 or 8 times now. And it's the greatest wee festival in the world. We just absolutely love it. It's in the foothills of the Bavarian Alps. It's what you call a boutique festival. There's like 800, 900 tickets sold. That's it. And all of our favourite bands play there. Sorry, let's just turn this. I brought a fan in here to help me not die, and it's making a bit of noise. So, Christian Steidel curates the bands, and more often than not, it'll be bands that you haven't heard of, some that you have, and it's always a joy. And we went over. It was different this time. Normally we go over and play a set, obviously, but Christian, it was the 10th year. James Legg, our friend John, aka James Legg, label mate as well. It was his 10th anniversary of playing it. So they'd organised a special set for him, and they'd invited over ourselves, Kettle, and the Hoot and Hollers, and ended up with CWA on stage as well. We played a full set of songs, some of John's songs, some of our songs, some of Kettle's songs, and we all just jumped in whenever we wanted to. It was fucking amazing. I don't think anything like that will ever happen again. But here is so I'm just going to scroll through my friend Karen Peterman, her and her husband came over from the Petermans, came over from Canada. So I'm just going to scroll. You can see the photographs on screen there. It looks quite small, but it's much bigger than it looks in these pictures. But I'll just scroll through the pictures. Turn the music down a little bit. That music is mine, by the way. It's called The Flamingos of Love. And you can see it's in the foothills of the Bavarian Alps. Absolute paradise. The Schizophonics, they played. They're from San Diego, I think. If you haven't seen them, you have to go and see them. Wow, what a band, what a show. Fucking gorgeous. Just absolutely gorgeous. Garage soul, just punk, garage soul punk. Reverend Beatman there, he was fantastic as always. And Milan Slick. There's Kelly from the Hoot and Hollers. There's Mikko and our friends from Finland. We played their festival before. There's Kelly again. There's John from the Hoot and Hollers. The man himself, James Legg. There's Marlon from the drummer, James Legg's drummer. He's amazing. He's a French guy. Wonderful, wonderful fella. And there's the man himself, Christian Steidel, introducing John with Mark, his... what am I going to say? A co-religionist. There he is. What a guy. This is a real... This guy is brilliant. Created this wonderful festival out of just nothing but passion for music, where he has given John I don't know what you would call it, trophy, I guess, that they made themselves out of Huggy, the local ironmonger, made that. This festival is like nothing you've ever seen. It's just a local beer only, local food. It's the greatest thing ever. There's John, Marlon ripping it up. There's Mark, Mikko again, a couple of others. There's me about to go on stage. There's John and Hoot and Hollers. There's CW in the back. A little bit about him in a second. Jamie from Kettle tuning up. There's Kettle and Sarah from Kettle. Sarah ripping it up. There's Jamie again. Sarah and me. You can see this was just a big friends jam fest, and we played a load of songs together. It was absolutely wonderful. There's CW, Pedro from Guadalupe Plata. Forgot to mention. How can I forget to mention them? My favourite fucking band, and I forgot to mention them. There's me, John, Kelly, Andy from the Hoot and Hollers, James Legg. It's just a joy of joys. CW. And myself, looking rather cool, I must say. There we go. Me again. Anyway, you can see where we're going with this. Get back a big family shot there. It's just wonderful. Just absolutely wonderful. We had such a great time. I'm still suffering. I came back with a little cold after 3 or 4 days of drinking too much. But there we go. It was great. But as always with these things, whenever I come back, I always buy a load of records. So I picked up, first of all, this one. So for those of you vinyl collectors, this is the new record from my favourite band, Guadalupe Plata, from Granada, Andalusia, Español. And this is the new one. I've got all of their records now. I think that's 4 or 5, maybe more, that I have of theirs. This is wonderful. I've listened to this twice this morning. Oh, and it's signed. Of course, it's always signed. You always have to get these things signed. It's great. And then, so that's that. Now, this was the one that was a wee surprise. There was a band on the Friday night called Pot Pot. And I didn't realise it. But 2 of them are Irish, which is great. From Limerick and Cork. 2 of the other guys are from Portugal, I believe. And check them out, Pot Pot. The album is called Warsaw 480 kilometers, 480 km. And it's fucking great, real chill stuff. Bit Lou Reedy, real sort of chill stuff, but absolutely wonderful. I've listened to it. I don't have the record in here because it's on my record player at the minute. I've listened to it this morning already, 2 or 3 times yesterday. Fucking amazing. So, but one of the other joys of the weekend that we had was got to hook up again with this guy. You might remember him from, if you follow this podcast, from this time last year. The Bonneville's went over and played a full set. This guy, CW Aeon. Where is it? That's him on screen. There. That's him playing the harmonica on the right. He's from New Mexico. and he's like a one-man band. Last year he had a bass player with him, but this year he did the one-man band thing. It was so chill. It's such chill blues. Really relaxed, really put you in mind of Junior Kimbrough and that sort of stuff. I suggest you go and check him out. Go to your streamings and find him online and hopefully buy his shit. But we became best friends. He's a goofball like me. He gets a couple of beers at him and starts quoting all the same fucking movies that you know. He's like, "Are we best friends?" Yup, all that stuff. And so CW is coming to Europe again in November. He's doing France and Germany, I believe. So I'm going to endeavour to bring him to Ireland. So I know we can put him on here, Chuck Hull. So we're going to see if we can also get him a few more gigs in Ireland. Obviously just the one gig won't do it. So we're going to try and get him to Belfast, maybe up to Convert Blues Club, maybe up to Derry, down to Dublin. I'm going to reach out. But so if anybody out there wants to put on a very, very chill, cool fucking New Mexico blues man, hit me up. You will not regret it. He's absolutely brilliant, a gentleman, and you know, the music is stunning. So yeah, so that's it. That's the pod. I will turn that off and put my theme tune back on. So there we go. That's the pod. We're done. There's plenty in there for you. I think you'll agree. Get involved. Loads of stuff there for you to do. Lots of homework for you. If you want to do that, go and get those records. Find those bands. Lend them your support. Reject AI. Be aware of the lock thing, even if you're not from here, because believe you me, it's coming to you too. You know this. You know it's coming to you. So you may as well get involved. And free Palestine, as always. And like and share, subscribe, head over to Patreon, do all the things you have to do. Sign up to the Patreon. It's free. So don't be panicking about that. Just realised to turn my microphone off. Like, share, do the things, get involved, and it won't be as long to the next one. Talk to you soon. Peace.